G'day everybody. Well, on to part 2 of the Busch motor restoration. As you can see, we've got the stator partially cleaned up. I got most of the oxide and other rubbish off of it with the basically just using the angle grinder and a special sanding disc. It's basically just little bits of sandpaper that are stuck on in a helical pattern, and they work really good at stripping off rust and paint and other rubbish from old metal like this. But that's ready for a repaint. I'm just inspecting the stator windings here, and unfortunately my worst fears have merged. There is quite a lot of oxide on the actual aluminium windings. If I can get to focus. Come on, there we... oh no, come on. There we go. Yeah, there's a lot of oxide on the... it only appears to be on 1 or 2 of the actual coils, but it's there. It's down here quite a lot. It's down here, and on the other side as well, there's also quite a bit. So I may be able to actually put some Feast Watson on it and clean it up, see if I can get it to insulate again. But from my past experiences with stators that have done that, it usually goes high resistance and burns out, basically melts the insulation and wrecks it. But these the run windings on this, which are these thicker coils here, they're actually made of aluminium, while the start windings are copper. As you can see there inside here, they're positioned 45 degrees from the run windings, and then you got your run windings up here, which are aluminium. But there is it's a lot of rust, debris and residue just left from where the rotor fan's been rusting. As you can see, there's quite a lot on that, which I've got to clean up next. That's all just surface rust as well. That'll clean up alright, but it's not looking too good. I may be able to get this rewound, depending on how much the local place would actually charge to get a motor like this redone. But it depends on whether this motor is really worth spending the extra money on getting the stator done. Because if not, you can basically just have the windings cut off fully and go in the scrap bin. But the only trouble is these old single-phase Busch motors are, although they were produced in their numbers, they're kind of hard to come by these days. And same with any vintage washing machine motor, which is what these are actually used in, along with the GMF Betts motors. But at the moment, it's basically a question of fixing up these oxide points, and any other point I did knock it a bit with the grinder and knock a bit of insulation off. But yeah, slow progress, no guarantee of it actually working again, but I can at least make it look nice. Okay, well, I've got the first side done. Good thing is the oxide hasn't eaten all the way through the windings. I was able to scrape most of it off, and I've given a damn good coat of varnish. I've also rewound it with some new nylon string just to hold it all together, and coated the whole thing with a nice big thick layer of varnish. So I'll just leave it to dry. I'll do the other side and probably call it for this. And then I'll move on to doing the housings. Let's let the camera focus. Here we go. Yeah, I'll just set those up on a jig and just get the grinder with the wire brush on it and strip as much oxide off as possible. And then I'll sort that bearing out. But that's come up alright. Hopefully it should still work. It hasn't penetrated all the way down, the rust, but it which is good in a way. It's only just touched the top. And I made sure that none of those windings are touching. They're all completely separate. So I'll let that set and do the other side. And okay, well, I managed to clean most of the oxide off of the end bells. I still got to do the inside of this one, but the outside's pretty good. I know it still looks pretty dirty. That's just because of what the way the grinder took it off. But I'm going to paint these, probably paint the whole thing once I get it back together, just to give it a nice brand new look. Nice, I cleaned up the rotor as well. Got all of that hideous rust stains off, and that's alright. Still got a little bit more to do up in there, but that'll come up alright. That end's been pinged out from where I'd hammered it to push it out of the push the bearing off. But I'm just gonna cut that off since that's the actual usable shaft. That's where the pulley went. I still clean up that a bit more, but slow progress, still getting through it. Stator's in there, just basically just drying off. I'm gonna probably chuck the rest of this back in with it, but that's pleasing how well it's come up. Also got the centrifugal switch off, and I'm about to get the clutch off of that. That can be pulled apart very carefully and cleaned up. There's its insulating material. But I've got to make sure I keep all of the parts up together for this, otherwise I'll find when I put it back together I'll be missing components. We don't want that. Well, there's the centrifugal switch from it. If I can get in focus. There we go. I've managed to get it off. It's got its roll pin and split pin on the end of it. Unfortunately that spring there's collapsed. Probably mentioned it in the previous video, but that's going to need to be replaced, and there's also a bit of oxide which is going to need cleaning off, but other than that it's actually in pretty good nick for what it is. There's no, or is a mild amount of scoring on the rub plate, but other than that it's pretty good. It still mechanically works a bit. It's a little bit sticky, but I can have it real good once I pull it apart and clean it up. But that's pretty much it for now in terms of doing this thing up. I'll write a list down of all the parts I've got to replace and what they are, and yeah, go from there. Anyway, that's part 2 of the Busch motor restore, and thanks for watching.